Good Wednesday and not so rainy evening. I'm Denise Osorio and this is PTV News Now. We kick off our show tonight with Vice President Sara Duterte bewails the exhaustive deliberations on her office's proposed budget worth north of 2 billion pesos for next year and blames the ruling party coalition in Congress and the Senate, which she broke off from this year for the difficulty she and her office has been subjected to in getting her proposed budget passed by Congress. Earlier today, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., in an aerial survey of the disaster-stricken Antipolo and Marikina, belied his vice president's claims the ongoing House hearing on her budget is being weaponized against her. The president today rebuked her unfounded complaints, saying the budget hearing is part of the Congress's duties in its check and balance role to ensure government's financial resources, which the executive branch earmarks for every office and the agency in the bureaucracy, is wisely spent. Relations between the president and vice president have been icy since the latter quit her then concurrent post as education secretary. Now that bond is not only strained but shattered after the vice president's irresponsible remarks to the Kingdom of Jesus Christ's faithful on the occasion of their recent 39th anniversary founding, offering her apology to KOJC followers for urging them back, then to vote for him, candidate Marcos Jr., further saying they deserve better in hindsight. A ceasefire deal seems to be close, and yet as scheduled talks loom near, the major players just step away and beg off, wanting a better deal in their favor. Still and all, President of the United States Joe Biden is going all in for a last-ditch try to salvage what seems to be an exercise in futility, as VOA's Anita Powell reports from the White House.
First, a small sliver of hope from Gaza after weeks of misery. 2 days of a UN-led polio vaccination campaign has reached 1/4 of the exclave's vulnerable children. But humanitarian officials say this humanitarian pause is not enough.
I think to make a real movement, a real progress on all of that, you need, of course, a ceasefire, and you need to have a start in proper peace process and moving forward.
And that's where we find ourselves as this conflict comes close to the 1-year mark, with no sign of peace and with the flames of anger raging. Anger on all sides, from Israeli protesters who say their government failed to rescue 6 hostages before Hamas killed them, and is failing to do enough to help the remaining captives. Rage from Palestinians furious over the continued pace of violence that has torn Gaza apart. And what looks like exasperation coming from U.S. President Joe Biden, who spent weeks out of the public eye overseeing negotiations to end the conflict. The White House says it hopes to close on a deal soon, but Biden hinted at an obstacle recently.
And do you think it's time for Prime Minister Netanyahu to do more on this issue? Do you think he's doing enough?
No.
At the White House on Tuesday, administration officials say they are still working with the various parties in Egypt and Qatar to reach a deal that spokesman John Kirby said has 3 elements, though he declined to give specifics of the American plan.
We're working on a proposal that will secure the release of the remaining hostages and will include massive and immediate relief for the people of Gaza and also result in a stoppage of the fighting.
Analysts say intransigence burns on several sides. Hamas fears a deal that will sideline its status in the Palestinian territories, and Israel seeks to maintain control over parts of Gaza. But there is another player in this drama who stands to lose if a deal craters: Washington.
If we cannot negotiate, if we cannot bring pressure to bear on our friends, on our allies, for their own good, let alone for the good of the region and for everyone's good, then I'm not sure why anyone would perceive that our involvement down the line would be particularly valuable.
And what of the people born into the middle of all of this? Peace is something they have never known. Anita Powell, VOA News, the White House.
At this moment, let's turn to my colleague in PTV's Pine City studios for what's brewing of late in the Cordilleras. Audrey?
Naimbag Arabi, Pilipinas, addan iti maudia face the Aquatic Center anay patakder ija Wangal la Trinidad Benguet. Kasapulan pa iti 48 milyon a pesos tapno malpas ti pasilidad. Adan iti timer kan heater ti pasilidad. Narugyan ti construction iti 2022. Manamna mga aglepas si construction intun as sumaruno atawen. Sigun iti kongresista ti Benguet, kasapulan ti nasawa pasilidad para iti panagsagana ti Cordillera Administrative Region Athletic Association wenno Karaa 2025. Panggap ti pasilidad a pasayaaten ti talento dagiti umili iti probinsya, tapno maitalo ti swimming kaskang runa na pakabigbigan dagiti atleta ti probinsya.
Pipilitin namin yan matapos ng January or February, pupukpukin ko yung highways kasi kailangan natin mag-host ng Karaa.
Itida dumapay adamag na recover ti nagtipon na pwersa ti PDEA, NBI kan pulisya dagiti maatap a marijuana leaves, kun oils iti uneg ti may sa alugan kalpasan ti insayang kada buy-bust operation iti atok trail Baguio City. Iti operasyon, nakalibas dagiti dua a sospek a lalaki kalpasan anadlaw da kamang ti otoridad dagiti katransaksyon da. May basar iti report, dagos at timupwak dagiti sospek iti deraas. Gapo iti matutudo a panawan kinasamak ti diso, sana nakamakam dagiti otoridad dagiti sospek. Nadiskubri iti lugan dagiti sospek iti 6 a plastic sachet a naglawn iti maatap a bulong ti marijuana, nga agatan iti 200,000 pesos. Upat a botelya naglawn iti maatap a marijuana oil nga agatan iti 160,000 pesos, kanda duba pengayb ebidensya a pakabigbigan dagiti sospek. Maipila ti kaskanan a kaso kontra iti maysa nabigbig a sospek. Dagita dagiti damdamag manipud iti PTV Cordillera, Shock, ni Audrey Villena, na Imbagarabi.
Many thanks, Audrey. That's all she wrote for tonight's show. Join us again tomorrow for another round of late-breaking stories here and abroad. And make it a habit to stay connected by catching the news right here. Denise Osorio here wishing you a restful night ahead. And thank you for watching PTV News Now.